Hello everyone, it's Michaela Valletta, also known as the Body Scientist. And if you are unfamiliar with me, I have a background in exercise and sports science and nutrition. And I completed my undergrad at the University of Delaware, and then I went into a graduate program at Teachers College at Columbia University in applied physiology, which is basically like exercise physiology and nutrition education, okay? And the graduate program I was in was the only program that was not funded by the food industry. Every nutrition and dietetics program in the United States is funded by food companies. And just like the medical programs are funded by drug companies, okay? The food and the drug companies are the same people, hence the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Okay, there's a lot of politics in medicine and nutrition when it comes to what people are taught, but also what people are allowed to tell you, okay? Because there are some nutritionists or doctors who may know certain things, but they can't necessarily say it because of who they work for, the guidelines that they're forced to abide by, who sponsors them. And this is the reason why I chose to work for myself and go my own path, because I wanted to tell people the truth. If I would have chose to work in a hospital as a dietitian, I would only be able to tell people what the American Dietetic Association says that I can tell people. And just like doctors have to abide by the guideline of the American Medical Association, okay? And when you really want to help people, you know, I'm not with all the politics, especially when the politics aren't coming from a genuine place. A lot of it is coming from how they can make money. That's both the food industry and the medical industry, okay? So I just wanted to, talk about how you have to be really careful with who you get your nutrition advice from. Nutrition is a science that a lot of people overlook, okay? I keep seeing with this whole COVID situation, I keep seeing people asking medical doctors for advice on how to boost your immune system and, how to stay healthy. And I don't understand why they keep asking medical doctors that, because that is not what medical doctors study in school. They do not study that. They barely take nutrition. And if they do, they take like one nutrition class. Now, me as an exercise physiologist, me as a nutritionist, I know about medications, okay? I took a lot of chemistry, organic chemistry, biochemistry. My biochemistry professor in graduate school also taught the medical students at Columbia University, okay? And so I know that the medical students, and he would tell us certain things that the medical students didn't learn, right? Like, even though he taught them biochemistry too. So for example, I remember one of my professors said, okay, he said if a woman goes to the gynecologist on a day when her folate levels are low, she could have an abnormal pap smear. And this is because folate is a B vitamin that is necessary for cellular reproduction. So if your folate levels are low, your cells may divide abnormally, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It doesn't mean that you have cancer, okay? But because doctors are not trained on nutritional deficiencies and toxicities, because every nutrient has deficiency symptoms when you're like, and toxicity symptoms. Doctors don't learn this, so they don't know how to recognize it. So they will see an abnormal pap smear and think, oh, she might have cervical cancer. Then they want to give a woman a biopsy, which is highly invasive and can cause other issues later in life. When all that woman needs to do is go home, put more folate in her diet for a couple months, 3 months or something, come back to the doctor and do it again, okay? But they don't tell you that because they don't learn that, okay? And so many things, almost every health problem that people have is due to nutritional toxicities and deficiencies, practically all of them, okay? And so to me, it would make more sense to even ask a nutritionist. But even then you have to be careful because, like I said, so many are educated by the food companies. And so even the things that a lot of you hear me say in the videos that I do is not in alignment with what you hear, like especially the dietitians who come on television, they're definitely not going to tell you what I'm telling you, because when you are coming on commercial media, on TV, on the radio, you cannot offend the sponsors, okay? So if they have Kraft Foods and Diet Coke and, Splenda and, the soy milk and the almond milk and the lactate, all that crap, okay? If they're advertisers for that TV show or that news show, they can't offend the advertisers. So you can't come on there saying things that goes against the advertisers. So that's why even with me, a lot of people tell me, oh, you should be more mainstream. And I'm like, yeah, but to be mainstream, you have to play that game. This is one of the reasons why Colin Kaepernick was getting on my nerves, because it's like, dude, you're not about that life. I'm not about that life. You're not about that life. When you're dealing with big business, people who are going to give you millions, you have to play a game, okay? And you got to deal with the bullshit. If you're not built like that, then move on. That's not for you. Like for me, I'm not going to be a dietitian in the hospital and then fight with them about shit, because I know how they are. I know how big business is. I know if I work for a major pharmaceutical company, I got to fall in line. I can't start telling them about what's wrong with their pharmaceuticals. You know, I'll end up getting fired. You know, that's big business. So you either make a decision. What side are you on? You know, I'm on the side of truth. So that's why I decided to put out free videos, educate people, and walk my individual path, because I really care about helping people. So the thing is, it's like, even though I, you know, took a lot of biochemistry and microbiology and molecular biology and, you know, have been working with people with all kinds of illnesses, and I've had a lot of clients on a lot of medications, but yet I've researched medications, right? But yet I would never prescribe I would never prescribe medications to people, because I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not a pharmacist, okay? So I don't understand why doctors are always giving fitness and nutrition advice, because that's not their realm, okay? The little bit that they study, that's not their realm, you know? I have a 4-year degree in exercise and sports science, where I took a lot of kinesiology, anatomy, exercise physiology, muscle physiology, you know, and I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist. To do that, you have to be an expert at program design and technique. I'm a USA Olympic weightlifting coach. To do that, you have to have, you know, you have to be superb at technique and program design. Like, you have to get tested in that. There's a lot of people who they study a little bit, you know, and people think because people are doctors, they know everything. Doctors don't know everything. Doctors study medicine and disease, okay? This is the reason why, like, even people right now who are going to the hospital for COVID symptoms. Now, I'm not trying to down the doctors, because they're good at what they do, what they know. Like, I feel like they're good for emergencies. God forbid you get into a car accident. Sometimes surgery is necessary. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. Okay, so those cases, you know, God forbid somebody, you know, gets hit by a car or falls out of a window, and you have emergency medicine, I feel like is, you know, very needed, and they are amazing at what they do. But when it comes to things that have to do with maintaining your health and longevity and living your best life and being healthy and prevention and how to not get sick, that's not what they know, and that's not what they tell people. I have been, like, following this COVID situation for days all around the world, and at least in the United States, I don't hear any of them. I've never heard one doctor telling people, oh, you have mild symptoms? Okay, do these things. Drink these teas. Steam with these herbs. Do these things so that those mild symptoms don't turn into more severe symptoms. They don't do that. They just say, oh, your immune system has to fight it off. Good luck. As if you don't, as if there's nothing that you can do to strengthen your immune system, as if you play no role in the functioning of your immune system. Like, you're just supposed to be dormant, and whatever luck you get is what you get. No. You know? And I go to the doctors with my parents all the time, and a lot of things that I feel like they miss the ball on a lot of things. To me, it almost seems like they don't truly understand how the body works, and they don't truly understand health. Like, everything that they're studying is dysfunction and how to fix it with a medicine or surgery, okay? And like I said, sometimes it has its place, because when it comes to lifestyle choices, like, some people might have certain diseases, and they could easily get rid of it if they change their lifestyle, but some people aren't going to do that. Or some people don't have the access and the means to do it. So then, okay, the medication has a purpose in that situation. So I'm not, you know, me personally, I don't see the need for myself, you know, unless I'm getting surgery and I need some anesthesia, you know. So anyhow, but I want to say, though, that there are 3 doctors who I do think get it, okay? Because I see a lot of doctors giving bad advice with what they're telling people. Whenever they ask doctors nutrition questions, I always cringe, because I'm like, no. Like, they know 1, 2, 3 nutrition. They really don't understand it, okay? And so I would say be very careful with getting your nutrition advice from doctors, from medical doctors. Also, you have to be careful with even some people who call themselves holistic, you know. A lot of them are also full of shit, like Sebi, okay? I refuse to call him Dr. Sebi because the man was not a doctor, okay? He didn't even finish kindergarten. Now, you have people who are traditional healers, traditional herbalists, okay? But who didn't go to college, okay? So you can be very well educated and have learned through a village with your people. That is definitely the case. You know, some of the best midwives never took a class in their life. They learned from grandmothers and attending many births. So that is valid, okay? However, with Sebi, I don't know who he claimed to have done that, but I never saw any proof of it. Number two, anybody who knows anything about herbalism and herbs knows that a traditional herbalist, I don't care if they're Chinese, African, Native American, traditional herbalists do not make one-size-fits-all pill bottles. Like, oh, I'm going to make all these pills and sell it to people for $2,000. Never even did a consultation with this person. But first of all, when you use herbs, because I do believe in herbs to assist in healing, and there are a lot of ways that you can cure a lot of diseases. Now, what he was talking about was not necessarily correct, okay? And no herbalist, depending on what you're using an herb for, you may have to smoke the herb, you may have to drink it as a tea, you may have to infuse it in oil and put it on topically, you may have to steam and then breathe it in, you may have to vaginal steam it, you may have to scrub and beat yourself with it. Depending on what you're using herbs for, there's different ways that you use it. Different herbs have different protocols. They're not stuff, you know, so when you mix up all these pills, and then a lot of people can't even digest all those pills. I mean, it's just so many things wrong with it. I never saw Sebi tell people, this is what you can do. You know, you need these herbs, get these herbs, make this tea. No, it was buy my pills for $2,000. That's ridiculous, okay? And he didn't even make it to 85. A lot of people live longer than 85. And you know what? They be eating pork. I know so many people that lived over 100 that ate pork. Pork is a longevity food. Another video for that another day. But they definitely weren't following Sebi's diet. Everybody who made it to 95 and older, they weren't following his diet. And there are people in the world who live a physical life. The man always looked frail and sickly. Like, if you're really strong and you know about how to maintain optimal health and fight every disease, you should have a strong body. You should have an aura that glows from you, okay? He never had that. He looked frail. He looked like his chi was depleted. I always thought that about him. Then you have this Layla Africa dude, another fraudulent man. He died at like 72, 73. That's really young. Everybody in my family lives longer than that, okay? And I hope that stays like that, but I'm just saying, that's really young. And Layla Africa, that's not his real name, so the name from the beginning is a fraud. But if you look at Africa, Africans don't do the shit that he was talking about, okay? He used to make fun of meat eaters and say all these weird analogies that made no sense, okay? And same thing with Sebi. Anybody who knows anything about physiology or how the body works could listen to Sebi and tell that this man does not know what he's talking about. He was just making up things. But to the general public, who you also don't understand how the body works, you also don't understand basic science, you can easily listen to Sebi and be fooled by it, okay? I don't know any medical professional, any real healthcare professional who's educated, whether it be a nutritionist, a nurse, a doctor, nobody that agrees with Sebi, okay? Or the Layla Africa dude. And you know, when it comes to traditional, because I take what I do very seriously, right? And I don't respect people who are lying to people just to make a dime. I really don't. And I'm always going to call it out, period, point blank. So when people try to tell me I'm disrespecting, no, I'm not disrespecting anything. Him being a liar and lying to people to make $1, that's disrespectful. And I'm going to call it out, dead or alive, because I did it when he was alive. I still will say it. That's an example, okay? Because if you claim to know all this stuff, but then you die so young, and pneumonia, healthy people don't die from pneumonia, okay? I don't care what age you are, okay? Also, if you look at Africa, you know, they're trying to act like Africans eat organ meats and, you know, all kinds of things. Okay, so actually, let me get into this, actually. Talking about what Africans eat. There's a book. This is one medical doctor who does know what she's talking about. And her name is Catherine Shanahan. She wrote this book called Deep Nutrition. Deep Nutrition, Why Our Genes Need Traditional Foods. And she's a medical doctor and her husband's a chef. Catherine Shanahan trained at Cornell University's molecular biology program, where she learned how nutrients direct physiologic growth. She has continued to study nutrition and alternative medicine since residency training in Tucson, Arizona. Dr. Shanahan's lectures have revolutionized how fellow medical professionals think about nutrition and health, okay? This is a very good book. I highly recommend it. Now, the thing about this book, she talks about something called the 4 pillars of health. And that is something that you see all throughout the world. So all traditional cultures in the world, whether you're talking about Africa, Asia, Europe, the Americas, the Caribbean, Polynesians, doesn't matter where you go in the world, everybody consumed bone broth, whether it was chicken broth, pork broth, like Asians, Japanese, and all that love pork broth, beef broth, fish broth. People took the bones from the animals they were eating and they made a broth. This broth is critical for your immune system and the health of your gut. I'm going to do a whole video on broth tomorrow, but it's critical. And every culture did that, okay? If you're listening to this YouTube video and you, wherever you're from in the world, if you know tradition and your tradition, your family, wherever you're from, making broth, chicken broth or whatever, please write it below on the video and tell me where your people are from. Because everybody in the world did this, okay? Also, everybody in the world ate meat on the bone, okay? People were not eating skinless, boneless chicken breasts. It's not healthy. You need everything. You need the components from the bone, the components from the skin, you need the fat. So people are like, I'm going to eat lean chicken breast with no skin and no bones. That's actually very unhealthy for a lot of reasons. And you need fat to digest protein for one, and a whole slew of other things, okay? Protein without fat depletes your vitamin A. There's a lot of issues, okay? So you need to eat everything together. They help, okay? So broth also really helps with digestion. Anybody that has gut problems, and critical for your immune system, critical for waking you up out of sickness too, and preventing it. So every culture, bone broth. Number 3, every culture ate organ meats. I don't care where they were from in the world, every culture ate eyeballs, tongue, heart, intestines, liver, kidneys, you know, all the different organs, the scrotum, you know, in Jamaica, they got cabal soup, you know. So people also ate the organs of the animals all over the world because that's where most of the nutrition is. This is a fact. Number 4 was fermented foods. Every culture has some kind of fermented foods, whether it be fermented dairy like yogurts, kefir, raw milk, and sour cream, or which is my fermented food of choice, is all the dairy stuff I just mentioned. Also raw cheeses as well, all fermented, so good sources of bacteria. The other option the other thing that people had, if it wasn't fermented dairy, it was lacto-fermented fruits and vegetables. So the Koreans had kimchi, Americans sauerkraut. I don't know if sauerkraut is American or Russian, I don't know, but sauerkraut, cortado from Mexico. So I think Haitian pickles is the same thing, like this fermented cabbage. So you see like similar things throughout the world, but every culture has some type of fermented food that they consume daily. For me, every day I consume raw milk, raw kefir. That's a lot of probiotics, okay? So you need to consume some kind of fermented food daily. In every culture, you look at India, they always have yogurts and, they do a lot of yogurts and cheeses, okay? So there's some type of fermented foods. So wherever you're from in the world, please talk about that below too. Anything that I'm saying that rings home for your culture and traditions. So that's what Catherine Shanahan really goes into, those 4 pillars of health and how it plays a role in our health or longevity. Very well written, okay? Very well written. So this medical doctor does know. Then you have the work of Weston A. Price. This is the Bible of all Bibles of if you're confused about what to eat, who's telling the truth, and how do you know, you need to check out Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, okay? This book is by Weston A. Price, DDS, so he's an American dentist. Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Now, he spent 10 years, I think this might be in the 30s, he spent 10 years traveling around the world. He went to 14 countries. He went to a lot of isolated places. So he went to every continent, first of all. And he went to a lot of isolated places to people who hadn't been colonized or had just been colonized. He studied their traditional foods, okay, the foods they were eating in their villages before they started eating the white man's foods. And he was a white man. But what he called the white man's foods was vegetable oil, sugar, and flour, okay? All from plants, not animal foods, right? Sugar, flour, and vegetable oil, and alcohol, because they knew that, so anyhow, I have so much going on in my, so many different thoughts converging, I'm sorry. so many different thoughts I want to say at once. Because the side note to that was I was going to say that I had a professor in undergrad. He was the chairperson of my nutrition program in undergrad. And he was a scientist who had worked on Native American reservations and did research. And he told me that the American government purposely dropped off food rations to the Native Americans of vegetable oil, flour, and sugar and alcohol because he knew the government knew they couldn't digest that very well and it would make them sick while they took away their lands to be able to hunt buffalo and whatever animals and things they ate and put them on arid, dry, depleted land to try to starve them and so that they would be desperate on these government rations. And what were they? Flour, sugar, vegetable oil, okay? So Weston A. Price takes photos of people's faces like one generation after they started eating the white man's foods and looks at their dental health, looks at their skeletal health, and looks at all these different things. He takes their traditional foods and he took it to a laboratory to see how nutrient dense it was, what nutrients are in this, how many of these nutrients, how much vitamin D, how much vitamin A, how much vitamin K, how much vitamin E, how much of this fat. So he took it to laboratories to look at that, and what he found was that people's traditional foods, people ate local foods no matter where they were, but their traditional foods were way more nutrient dense than what they were eating when they started eating the white man's foods, or even what we are getting now, or even what the RDA is, which is the recommended daily allowance, is a lot lower for most nutrients than what we actually need, okay? And how do they come up with the RDAs? Me as a nutrition dietetic student can tell you that how they came up with the RDAs, which is how much of each nutrient you need each day. They came up with that based on faulty or suspect research where they were like taking like malnourished people and like looking at how much of a certain nutrient was needed to like so they wouldn't die. I mean, it's not really about optimal health, okay? And it's not based on very good research. Weston A. Price's research was undebatably amazing, okay? And he talks to all these doctors, like Native American doctors who say that, before there were roads in that town and people were eating their traditional foods, women gave birth with ease, they didn't need any help. Now these women were having these long labors, needing all this help. So there's a lot of issues, even bad eyesight, that wasn't normal amongst traditional people. So there's a lot of things now that's very common that people think is normal, but it's not normal. It's common now, but it's not normal, and this is not how it is supposed to be. But people are so sickly, we don't notice that. And it seems like each year, the whole human population is getting sicklier and sicklier. We really want to understand the truth about stuff and read real research. It's undebatable, not theories. Research that covers so many different, every ethnic group in thorough. This book right here. And he was a dentist, okay? Then, another doctor, Jordan S. Rubin. Those of you who know that I've been talking about probiotics forever. I'm always talking about how important probiotics are, how they are your first line of defense against all infectious disease, okay? And critical for your digestion. Jordan S. Rubin is the one who created the Garden of Life probiotics. And he is amazing. I think that he's very on point with a lot of things, the nutrition, because he's anti-shellfish and pork because of being Jewish. So I personally don't let religion dictate food. I base it all on science. So I don't necessarily agree with him on that part. That's a whole other story for another day. But a lot of things he's on point about. So then you have Jordan S. Rubin and then Joseph Brasco, MD. So this book is called Restoring Your Digestive Health, okay? You see? And this book is really important to understand why probiotics are so important for your digestion. Like people that have all these allergies and, I can't digest this and I'm intolerant of this and that. You have an imbalance of gut bacteria. People who are constantly craving sugar and I can't stop eating cookies and pies and cakes and brownies. You have an imbalance of gut bacteria. People who have bad skin, okay? People who have like all these blotches and dark spots and bumps and pimples and eczema, you have an imbalance of gut bacteria, all right? And people who get sick all the time. Like I honestly cannot remember the last time I had a cold or a flu. I don't remember. I really don't. I have no recollection. And your first line of defense is probiotics, okay? I have several videos where I talk about that, your microbiome. So this is a very, very good book that I recommend, okay? So these are, because I feel like most doctors are so clueless with that. Like I know doctors who might, they work a lot with infectious diseases and they're still prescribing antibiotics for everything. I never, ever, ever take antibiotics. I don't care what reason they're giving me, what infection I supposedly have. I'm taking a whole bunch of probiotics. And if you get an infection, that's a sign to your body that your body's already out of whack. So I don't really get sick, but anytime I've gotten any kind of infection, I know, okay, my shit was already out of whack. I wasn't on point. I wasn't doing these things. I start taking a whole bunch of probiotics, knocks it out. Or something could happen where I could get an infection, like bad cuts and stuff where I don't clean my cuts. But the probiotics in your gut reflect also the probiotics on your skin. So if you have good gut health, the probiotics in your skin will also be good, and you're less likely to get an infection if you do cut yourself. Because people who get infections from cuts and stuff, a lot of times it's from the bacteria that's already on their skin. And a lot of people are already out of balance, something called intestinal dysbiosis. And so for me, any person that's giving nutrition advice, I think that it should be based in, holistic stuff in the truth, okay? A lot of people, I see so many doctors telling people about how important vitamin D is. That's true. But then they'll, recommend a prescription vitamin D. Or they'll tell people, just buy a vitamin D pill, okay? I'm sorry. He'll tell people, just buy a vitamin D pill. But no, vitamin D by itself is really toxic. Okay, you don't want to have vitamin D by itself. Vitamin D needs saturated fats. Vitamin D needs vitamin A. They all go together. When you have one by itself in a high dosage, that's when you get a lot of side effects because it's out of balance. Okay, that's why a lot of medications have side effects. Most medications come from plants, but they isolate the active compound, extract it, and just give the person that. Now they have all these side effects because it's not in the plant the way it's supposed to be with all the other components that work with it. Okay? That's why I really believe in natural medicine and so I do very much believe in using herbs. And I'm not an herbalist, okay? I've used herbs for a lot of things myself, but I'm not an herbalist. So if I had somebody that had, for certain things, I could recommend stuff, right? Because I do have some knowledge. But I also know how to stay in my lane. And if somebody needs to really work with an herbalist and needs I need to do a liver cleanse, or I'm going to recommend you to an herbalist who knows what they're doing. I might know about certain herbs that cleanse your liver, but that's not my area of expertise to tell you how much to take, when to take it, so I know how to stay in my lane. A lot of medical doctors don't do that. You have so many medical doctors who are opening up these what is it, this travel stuff where they come and inject you with electrolytes and vitamin C. When people could just eat, just drink some damn coconut water, drink some broth, eat some fermented foods. Why the hell are you injecting people with nutrients, Because it's another way for them to make money. But that's not even what they know or what they study, and so I cringe usually when I hear doctors give nutrition advice. Usually they just recite the same things that you've been told. Stay away from saturated fats. Cholesterol causes heart attacks. None of that is true. None of that is true. And if you don't believe me, take a look at the links that I post below this YouTube video. And also, check out these books that I'm talking about, okay? Especially starting with this one, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. Number 1. If you don't believe me, get this book, start reading it, and then let's have a conversation, okay? Because nowadays, the internet makes everybody think they're a nutrition expert, and that gets on my nerves. And a fitness expert, okay? And they don't have the background, the knowledge, and they're just telling people bad things, giving people bad advice that can get them hurt. People who say that they're holistic, okay? It's important, too, to know what their background is. I feel sorry for a lot of people. I can understand the confusion because you have people on two opposite ends that sometimes don't know what they're talking about. The medical doctors who nobody should be asking them in the first place. You could talk to, dietitians, but a lot of them are also tainted. The dietitians, because the dietitians are funded by the food companies. The medical doctors are funded by the drug companies. So the dietitians, even though they went through school for dietetics and nutrition, they still learn a lot of watered down stuff and have truths. And I can tell you that because I was in nutrition programs. So for example, if you take organic chemistry, then you understand that, saturated fats are the most stable fats when heat, light, and air are applied to them. Heat, light, and air. Saturated fats. The more unstable a fat becomes, the more unstable it becomes when heat, light, and air are applied to them. So therefore, you don't want to cook with polyunsaturated fats or unsaturated fat. Monounsaturated is not as bad as polyunsaturated, but polyunsaturated fats, big no. Okay? Because they're less stable. And what that means, by less stable, it means it's easier for it to get destructed and thus become poison for us. Well, we consume those rancid, destructive fats, it is really unhealthy. And that's what really causes people's arteries to be torn up and scarred up and people to get cancer. It's not the pork fat and the beef fat. That's not what it is. It's the vegetable. They're not even from vegetable oils. They're from seeds, canola, corn oil. They're not even vegetables. But coconut oil is a fruit. Coconut oil and olive oil are actually fruit oils, not vegetable oils. And coconut oil and olive oil are good. Extra virgin coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil. They are fruit oils, okay? But the safflower, sunflower, canola, corn, soybean oil, those are all totally poison. But when you take a nutrition class, like, so you learn this in the science, in the chemistry, but then when you take a nutrition class, they tell people, when they tell you what to tell people, not a nutrition class, like when you take a class where they tell you what to tell people, they'll tell you, oh, saturated fats are bad. That includes tropical fats. Palm oil, coconut oil, bad because it's saturated fat. And then they say the healthy fats that people should consume is canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil. No, okay, no. And like I said, if you don't believe me, check the references below. Check the books that I'm telling you about. Check the references below. Because I'll always have sources to back up what I'm saying. Also, you can check out this book called Real Food by Nina Plank. Nina Plank is a journalist, but she does an excellent job at breaking down how powerful the food companies are and the lobbyists with putting out faulty research and tainting research and suppressing research and changing around what it says. She does a very good job at that. Now, for explaining it to people in layman's terms. Now, I already knew this because this is my background and because I came out of a program that made me aware of this. Most nutritionists and dietitians don't know this. Also, herbalists are not nutritionists. A lot of times people tell me advice that they went to an herbalist for something and the herbalist gave them nutrition advice. They also can be wrong a lot of times because they're not nutritionists. Okay, let's remember, everybody thinks they could be a nutrition expert. Everybody thinks they understand nutrition enough to give advice and know what they're doing. That includes regular people. That includes doctors. That includes herbalists. Okay? And they haven't, that's not their realm. Like, I'm not an herbalist. I know a lot about herbs, but I'm not an herbalist. So there's little things I can tell you, but if you really need herbal advice, you need to go to an herbalist. Okay? I can give you exercises to strengthen your back, but I'm not a chiropractor. So if your spine's out of alignment, you need to go see them so they can put it back in place. I can help you strengthen it. It's about knowing what your expertise is and staying in your lane. Okay? So you have to be careful with the herbalists too, okay? And then the so-called people who call themselves holistic healers, whatever that is, I did a holistic training. When people say that, I'm like, what is that? Like, what is your training exactly? Okay, but a lot of people like that too. They don't even have the scientific background to even understand if what they're being told is true. Like, again, I said with the SEBI and all the stuff he was making up, the shit didn't make any sense. The acid alkaline stuff didn't make any sense. I'm gonna do another YouTube video about acid and alkaline, acidity and alkalinity in the body. But anybody who understands how the body works, understands acids and bases, knows that the stuff that he was saying was not even valid. And then if you have common sense, critical thinking skills, look around the world. Who are the healthiest, longest living people in the world? Who are they? And what do they eat? Do they follow SEBI'S diet? Not a one. Okay? You can do the research for yourself, but I'm going to do some, these will give me ideas for other YouTube videos to do, so I don't get too much into going through that here. But trust me, the healthiest, longest living people in the world were not following SEBI'S diet. And they were eating pork. They were eating pork. Most of the world eats pork, except like Muslim people. And they live alone, okay? So this is the reason why, like, for me, I decided not to be tied to any industry. All the videos I put out on YouTube and Instagram are free. I don't get paid to post anything. Nothing I post is sponsored or am I getting advertisement money from. I put this information out as a labor of love. I work with clients, you know. I'm always available for evaluations. If you're interested in discussing that with me, you can email me directly at thebodyscientist81@gmail.com. I do work with a lot of people from a distance. And I'm always, you know, going to educate people. I like to educate people so you understand what's going on. And you understand you understand what you need. You understand how to make the best decisions. You understand what the hell it is that you just picked up and are looking at right now. Okay? No matter where you go in the world. This is important. And this is why I make videos when I travel about the food in different places and the food systems. Because a lot of people talk about how bad things are in the United States. But it's bad a lot of places. A lot of places it's worse when it comes to access to real food that's not processed and full of chemicals. But the food industry is also extremely tricky. Okay? And so there's a lot of things the general public has no idea. You know, like, did you know that texturized protein was MSG? Did you know that? There's like 12 different ways to say MSG besides monosodium glutamate. So if you see something that says texturized protein in your food, that's MSG, among other things, okay? So the food industry is very tricky with how they can do things, and if that's not your realm and that's not what you've been researching, you're totally unaware of that. So because I want to help, my approach is educating people. I'm always going to give you other resources because I don't like for people just to listen to me because I'm like, okay, if you don't believe me, look at this. And some people are way better at breaking down, you know, going through the history of how certain things happen, breaking down the studies, stuff that I know, but it's not readily available in my head. So this is the reason why I'm always going to recommend other people who are doing this work, who are telling the truth, because I know that it's confusing. I know people are constantly hearing different things, and it's like, how can I understand who to believe? But when it comes to your health, trust and believe. What you do not know can hurt you. What you do not know can hurt you, or can cause you to not live as long as you should. It can cause you to not reach your full genetic potential, okay? So it's up to you. To everybody, it's not their priority, but I do care about my health, and I don't want to be, you know, thinking I'm doing the right thing, because that's the other thing. There are people who really do want to be healthy, and they really do care, and all these years they've been doing these things that they think is healthy, and then they find out 10 years in that this wasn't healthy, and now they've depleted their body so bad, you know? So it's always been my goal not to have that happen to me, okay? And to just keep getting stronger and keep myself together as I age. And there's many components to that. And it's really rooted in following the ways of traditional peoples, because we do not know something. We're not smarter than people were 100 years ago. We haven't figured out some shit that they didn't know. And we're actually not healthier than they were. People are weaker, okay? Women have all these problems giving birth. People can't see. All these different issues, okay? Freaking problems learning, and ADD is a million freaking issues. So I think I said everything I need to say in this video. You know, definitely check out my videos on GMOs. You can check out my video on dissecting SEBI'S Pseudoscience. I'm going to try to post all those videos below on my YouTube. If you don't follow me on YouTube, make sure you follow me at thebodyscientist81. And if you're on YouTube and you don't follow me on IG, make sure you follow me at _body_scientist, okay? Because I don't always post the same things on both pages. Yeah, people, so be careful. I think that the best thing to do is to educate yourself so you really understand what's going on. Be careful who you take nutrition advice from, seriously. And check out the references I gave you, okay? And check out the videos I post below. Always available for consultations if anybody needs them. And if you like this video, please like it. Please give it a thumbs up. Please share the video. And have a great day, people. Take care of yourselves. Stay healthy, okay? Bye.